Welcome back, everybody. We've got a by-election, just one by-election to get into this week, and it's a very familiar story for the Conservative Party, I'm afraid. You can see the result on your screen there. If you're new to the channel, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. We cover the local by-elections on a weekly basis. There tends to be at least one that happens every week, and every now and again we get a handful. And look, my opinion, as I've always said, is that opinion polls are great, but when we follow these by-elections over the course of a period of time, over a long, 6 months to a year, it gives a very good idea, I think a better idea than the opinion polls, of which way the political winds are blowing. So, please do hit subscribe if you haven't already, if you're new here. So, Hawcote and New Barns in Westmoreland and Furness. And look, a big win for Reform. You can see clearly there they've got 48% of the vote, and they've put the Conservative vote to the sword again, as they have been doing pretty routinely now for a couple of years. Let's talk about the Conservatives. So I said last week after that Swansea election that they're just so inconsistent at the moment. Yeah, 3 weeks ago we had the filed result where they had a big vote share increase and they won by a large margin. Last week in Swansea, the vote share cratered and they finished in bottom, having won the ward in the prior election for Swansea Council. And it's happened here again. It hasn't quite cratered this time. If we take a quick look at the vote share change, you can see they're down 22 points. So, I suppose that probably is a cratering, actually. Just in the current climate of today, 30 plus is a cratering, I think. But look, it's down heavily again. Reform have gained all of that vote share. Looks like they've taken off the Conservatives and off of the Independent, who didn't stand this time. So all of their vote share was up for grabs. But this is becoming very, very, very common for the Tories, and the stories like we had, or the results that we had like in Filed 3 weeks ago, very much seem to be the exception rather than the rule. And look, you can see their gain off of the Conservatives for Reform in the middle. Look, I said at the after the local elections in May that I wasn't buying into this narrative that the Tories had a good result. I did a video on it. I said I think that's ludicrous. I can't. And I think it was taking Conservative voters or supporters for fools. And I said I have people that I speak to in group chats who are Conservative members still, and they said they weren't very happy about it. They could see very clearly that those results were awful for the Conservative Party, and they couldn't understand the whole the strategy of trying to paint it as anything other than that. Yes, they had a handful of good results, but they had a handful of good results in 2025 as well. They were the largest party in Buckinghamshire. They were the largest party in Northumberland. All right, they did lose overall control of both of those councils, so it was, not a massively good story. But the good stories that they had in this year were mostly the holds. They held on to Bromley and Bexley and the other London places, Hillingdon and Harrow, that were never expected to lose anyway. They didn't really gain control in many places. They became the largest party in Swindon, and they held on in Fareham. Outside of those, there really aren't any. They got decimated in the county councils in the East Anglia and the South East. Norfolk, Essex, Suffolk, West Sussex, East Sussex, all of those, they got decimated. They're smaller in Norfolk than Restore Britain now, who have more councillors in Norfolk than the Tories do. They got obliterated in the West Midlands. They, weren't particularly strong in the Yorkshire Northwest area anyway, but whatever they had, they kind of lost there. And in the Northeast, where they had done quite well in the immediate aftermath of Brexit in the Boris era, they got wiped there as well. So I didn't think it was a good result. I think it was an awful result. And I think we're seeing a continuation that I think people are seeing the Conservatives as a minor party now. I don't think people really see them as a main party anymore. I think Reform have supplanted them. Perhaps not totally yet, but I think they're very close to doing it. I think Reform... Well, in fact, there was a poll I saw a few weeks ago that was done that showed that most people do see Reform as the main party of the right. So the Conservatives' hold on that mantle is gradually slipping, and I think we're just starting to see that manifest more and more in the election results. I think Emmy Badenoch is actually quite personally popular. It seems that a lot of people actually quite like her. But that is not translating into Conservative votes. And I think the brand is very, very damaged. And I think their only hope back, really, is if Reform really fumble it, which they could do. They very much could do. If Reform really fumble the bag, then that might be a chink of light for the Conservatives to come back. But bear in mind, there's also Restore knocking about now. Like I've said on this channel before, I know there's a lot of people who watch this channel who are, passionate supporters of Restore Britain. I think I think their influence, their not size, so to speak, but yeah, I think their influence on things is maybe over hyped online. Look, bear in mind they're standing in the Makerfield by-election, Restore Britain, but they haven't stood in any of these council by-elections yet. So until they start standing in these by-elections and we see how they do across the country in the same way that Reform did in 2024, I can't really say much about Restore Britain, but they're there as well. If Reform fumble, it could be that Restore pick up the baton rather than the Conservatives. So it's looking very, very bleak for the Conservative Party. Let me know what you think in the comments. I've said on the channel for months now, probably a year actually, that I think the Conservative Party is finished. What I mean by that is not that they're going to disappear entirely off the political spectrum, but they are just going to be reduced to a minor party that isn't competitive at the top end, and competitive for forming a government. Let me know what you think. That's Hawcoat and New Barnes in Westmoreland and Furness anyway. So Reform's first councillor on this council with a big, big win for them. And it's a Liberal Democrat controlled council. So be interested to see what happens when this one's up for full election next year. Now let's go and have a quick look at next week's by-elections. We've got 3 to get into. So we're going to have a quick look at that right now. Firstly, then, to, I think it's Christleton and Huntington in Cheshire, West and Chester. And it's another Conservative Party defence. You can see they're defending a very slender lead. So this was last up, I think, in 2023. And you can see the Tories got pushed very, very close by the Green Party. Labour not too far away either, which is an interesting one to keep an eye on. Because actually, I forgot to mention when I was talking about Hawcoat and New Barnes, Labour's vote share was down 11 points this week in Westmoreland and Furness. Now it's down, but it's not down by anywhere near as much as we've become used to seeing Labour go down. It was same in Swansea. Their vote share wasn't down that much there. I don't know if there's some sort of people hedging their bets before the Makerfield by-election or something, but the Labour vote is just holding up a bit better at the moment. But that said, they have both been obviously Conservative held wards, not Labour defences. It's quite possible if we have a Labour defence in the coming weeks, we'll see that vote share crater again. But just thought I'd mention that. So look, Tories defending a very slender lead here. The Greens pushed them close last time. So is this a ward where the Conservative Party are vulnerable to that Green vote? Is it, I said last week, and it fits into what I was just saying about the Conservatives becoming a minor party. You can almost split the Conservative votes into sort of 2 halves. The one half of the Conservative vote might be more liable to go and vote for the Lib Dems or the Greens, and another half of the Conservative vote is more likely to go and vote for Reform, and that's why the Tories are getting squeezed out, because they have nothing left, basically. Their voters are going elsewhere. So is this one of those places we have to wait and see? Of course, Reform will be on the ballot. Let's go and have a look at who's standing. So the Greens obviously are going to be standing, Reform, the Tories, Labour, and the Liberal Democrats. So no independent standing this time as last time. It's the same number of people on the ballot paper, with Reform coming in and no independent. So 10% of the vote up for grabs, I suppose, off that independent. And as always, let me know what you think is going to happen here. Look, it'd be interesting because, again, not to go off track too much, but the Greens, I think, like I said last week, have had 2 weeks ago, have had the wind knocked out of their sails a bit recently, I think, post-local elections. So let's see, maybe this will be a good comeback for them next week. Right, we will move on. So Apsley and Corner Hall ward in Dagenham, and look, this is a Liberal Democrat-controlled council. It's right on the border with Buckinghamshire. I believe it's in Hertfordshire, where the Lib Dems have done quite well at the expense of the Conservatives in recent years. You can see they've got a massive vote share lead here. They got almost 50% of the vote last time up. Again, this was 2023 as well, I believe. Conservatives in second place, but quite a way behind. And look, I don't necessarily see too much changing here. However, it is worth saying that the candidates this time, there's quite a few more on the ballot paper. So Reform obviously coming in, Liberal Democrats, of course, defending. The Labour Party, again, an independent, and the Greens this time, and again also the Conservative Party standing a candidate as well. So only 3 last time, whereas this time around there's going to be 5, or maybe it was even 6, can't remember. But there's going to be a number of more, 6, so Reform, Greens and Independent coming in. So it's going to be a more crowded ballot paper, which may just reduce that Liberal Democrat vote share from 50%. But let's see what happens to that Conservative vote here as well. Look, Buckinghamshire area, this is into Hertfordshire. This is traditionally Conservative heartland territory. Now I think that's all faded away for them around this part of the world in the post-Brexit, post-Boris Johnson years. I think they've gone away from the Tories to Lib Dems here. So I think the Lib Dems will hold, but let's see what happens to that Conservative vote there. But I imagine it'll be a Liberal Democrat hold. Again, let me know what you think. Lastly, it's Sippenham Green, I think, in Slough. And again, it's another Conservative defence. So 2 out of 3 next week are Conservative defences. And they're in a vulnerable spot at the moment, like what we've been saying about the Tory party. If they lose another 2, yeah, I think that the trajectory just isn't great for them. But look, maybe this one is the best chance for them to hold on. They've got a big vote share lead already. They got over 50% of the vote last time in this election in Slough, which I think again was 2023 last time up. Let's see what happens. Let me know what you think. I really know nothing about Slough or how it might vote. I think the parliamentary constituency on the Nowcast, when we looked at that last year, which is, I know, a long time ago now, but I think that was one of the ones that's projected to go to Gaza Independent. So I know I think overall typically a more Labour voting area, although the council is actually controlled by Conservative and Liberal Democrats in coalition. So look, I don't really know. Let me know what you think in the comments again. But look, 50% of the vote, you can say it's a good chance for the Tories to hold on. It's also a chance for their vote share to crater again, isn't it? So we'll have to wait and see. Looking at the candidates for this one, Labour, Conservatives, Green, Reform, and Liberal Democrats. So just the Greens and Reform coming in, I think, isn't it? Yeah, no independent this time. There's 2 independents who stood last time, so we've got Greens and Reform instead. Seeing as the Conservatives got such a high vote share here last time, I imagine it probably isn't a part of Slough that would be tempted by the sort of Islamist version of the Green Party. But who knows? Maybe it is. Again, let me know in the comments, and we'll have to wait and see how well Reform does here. Do Reform have a chance in Slough? Let me know what you think. That's it for this week. So we will have the results of these 3 elections next week on Friday. Apologies again that this was out on a Saturday afternoon. I was just away from home, couldn't do the video at all on Friday. I am working again next Friday, but I think I should be able to get the video out for you at the normal time, Friday at 6 o'clock. If you've got this far and you haven't yet subscribed, if you've enjoyed it, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already joined the channel. And as always, all of you, please do get involved in the comments. You feel free to correct my pronunciation as always. And most importantly, let me know what you think is going to happen in these by-elections next week. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next Friday.